KILR Killer Game.
Hello, gamers, simmers, and pilots. I am the Killer Gamer, and welcome back to the Chicago tour featuring Microsoft Flight Simulator 111. Yes, number 1. Let's talk about where we are, where we're going, and how in the world we're going to get there. Okay, so here is the original Microsoft Flight Simulator 1 map. When we started off the Chicago tour, as all of them, we started off at Meigs, and then we went to Chicago O'Hare. But since there's a lot of airports that are not here, we used VORs. So we flew pretty much in the same direction as we did on all the other simulators. We went to DuPage. There is no airport for Aurora, so we came down here. I think we went to Joliet, but then we came over to Chicago Heights. The Lansing Airport is here in Flight Simulator 2, but not here on Flight Simulator 1. And then we landed at Chicago Midway. And then we went from Chicago Midway. We did a touch and go at Meigs, just like all the other simulators, except on this one we kind of touched down before the runway, but you know, hey. And then we flew out to Joliet. No airport at Joliet on this one, so we continued flying, went to Peotone, and then landed at Greater Kankakee. So that is where we are at now. And where we're going to now, the next stop would be Bloomington. But one, there's no Bloomington VOR. That was added in Flight Simulator 2. As well as the airport. So it's right about here is where Bloomington would be. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be flying the Pontiac, then we'll go to Roberts, then we'll go to Danville, which will be right on the edge of Illinois and Indiana, and then we'll be flying right over here to University of Illinois, and we'll be landing here. So that is the flight plan that we are doing on this next flight here. And it's dark and there's not going to be anything to see. So you got to use your imagination on this. If it were daytime, we would still have nothing to see. It would just be a green landscape. So either way. But yeah, this flight here will be nighttime. And then after Champaign, we'll stay the night there, and we'll be flying during the day, and we'll be heading back. So yeah, that's our flight that we're going to be doing on this one. Okay, let's go ahead and tune in to Pontiac, which is 109.6. We'll hit the N key, plus minus. We'll make it go up or down, the whole numbers. So got 109, and we have to hit NN to go to the decimals. Use the plus key and go to 109.6. There we go. Now we're going to center that needle there, so we're going to hit V for VOR, and then plus or minus. You see how we can make, it's right here. Hold on, where's my mouse? Hold on, I lost my mouse here somewhere. So now it is time for us to get moving here. If I use the right key. Now it's really hard to determine 3D space, obviously, with this. I mean, we can definitely see the taxiway here, but trying to see stuff in the distance is like a flat line. So you're kind of like, well, how do I know like I'm going in the right direction and stuff? Well, just pull up the map. That's the numlock key, and you can zoom out here. So that way you're like, oh, okay, yep, I'm heading over to the runway. I see it. So this winds up being a very useful and necessary thing when flying the old simulator. And giving you guys tips. You never know, you might want to fly this. Alright, here's the runway. Honestly, RP, Flight Sim 4 is actually quite fun. Give me a moment. We'll have some in-flight entertainment that I can show you. Let's get up in the air. Yeah, because we're gonna have like a whole lot of nothing to see, so we'll need some in-flight entertainment. What year was 4? 87, 88? Something like that. Okay, we are airborne. There goes Kankakee. Wave goodbye. Status of our landing gear is right here. So we just hit G. Now it says up. And I don't know what that was. That was some type of red. Did you see it? It was just briefly. There was a red thing off to the right there. We'll also be landing on the ILS runway at Champaign because it's the only one that has, I believe, an ILS runway. At least I think it is. It's not on the map though. I was pretty sure that ILSs are in the first one, but maybe I'm wrong. Alright, we got to change our heading to 248. Oh, we're pretty much on 248. Oops. Come on. Come on over there. Those fine adjustments here. Try to level us off around 3,000. I actually have a box copy of 4. It's a brand new copy. I got Flight Simulator 3 sitting right next to it. I'm going to say Flight Simulator 4 is probably 87 or 88. Because it came out, well, Flight Simulator 3 came out after the Amiga did, and it was based off of that. There we go. Okay, Flight Simulator 4 was released late in 1989, so it was a bit later than I thought. Flight Simulator 3 was mid-1988. So the thing about Flight Simulator 4 is it was the first simulator where you could use custom content. It was the first simulator that had third-party support, and the first simulator where it was open-ended, so that way people could create airports and aircraft and things like that. Also, too, it had the sound and graphics upgrade, so that way you weren't stuck with just a PC speaker sound. It was also the first one that had the adventures, the flight adventures. So you had the ability to have ATC controlled flights just through the form of an adventure. I'm getting us leveled off here, and then I'll give you a peek at one of the videos that I did. I think we're almost. Kankakee's right back that way. We're too far away from Chicago to see it. Okay. Actually, I think it was this one that I did. I may have done this one too. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you what I did with Flight Simulator 4, and you'll see why I'm saying that it you can actually have an amazing experience with it. So this is from my channel. This is a series called Flight Simulator 4 Adventures. It features the Sublogic USA scenery. And this starts off in Seattle. Keep in mind we're streaming, so this video is kind of skipping a little bit. It doesn't normally do that. So I've got, you can record air traffic.
Flight Simulator for Adventures Part 1. Seattle Tacoma International Airport C.
And I have a talking plane.
International Airport KPDX.
The plane talks.
Flight computer. Startup is approved. Tune in Seattle clearance delivery on 128.00. Tune Seattle on 118.00.
I'll turn that up a little bit there. This is one of my cinematic flights, so there's no talking or anything on it. And this is kind of showing the flight plan on where we're actually going. So this is going to Portland.
Seattle Tacoma International Information Delta 1400 hours Zulu weather. Visibility temperature 69, wind 330 by at 6, altimeter 20 by 0.55, landing and departing runway 34, instrument approach available, runway 34 localizer 110.3, advise controller on initial contact view and Delta.
And it gets more interesting here in a moment. But I added scenery to the airport, so that way there's like trees and a few other things. So I got the plane started off here. Does that voice sound familiar?
Cessna 201 Niner Kilo Tango Victor. Seattle Collins International clearance delivery. You are cleared to Portland International Airport as filed. Climb and maintain 3000. Expect 7000. Departure frequency is 119.20. Squawk 3065.
So I created an adventure and put together voices using the stuff from FSX and then putting it into Flight Simulator 4. So that way I have a pilot that's talking to the control tower. The control tower is talking back, and then it will switch to another frequency and you'll hear a different voice. Granted, you can't play it like this out of the box. I had to actually put this together. It took time to get this together, but you can see I'm switching. It's calling ground.
Cessna 201 Niner Kilo Tango Victor Seattle ground control. Exit to 134 right and hold. Contact tower on 119.90.
And then it wasn't enough for me just to have the ATC. I had to throw in real chatter in there too.
Up to 1380,
So
do you have to stop or can you continue down?
So I got the adventure set up where you're hearing actual ATC chatter from Seattle or from Center. Yeah, so I did all this with Flight Simulator 4. Yeah, we can move forward here. Let's take a let me take a quick look at the Flight Simulator here. Okay, we're still on course. But yeah, here is, that's downtown Seattle. So I started flying in this location and then we went south. And oh yeah, I have these like little music segments and stuff during it. So they're kind of like, I don't know, in-game music videos or something. And I created the music using a program called Magic's Music Maker. And I used a really old version to give it a more of a retro sound to go back around this time period. But yeah, that is Flight Simulator 4 Adventures. There's supposed to be a lot more episodes than what's on the channel. I was working on another one. But I have to program everything by hand, which gets quite complicated. And then I have to put together all the voices, so all the voices that you hear, and put together all the phrases and everything, so that way when doing the flight, all the parts of the adventure are triggering all those different audio files and stuff. Trying to explain it is hard. But when the work is over with, when you do the actual flight, it's actually quite fun. Now you don't have to put that much effort into it. You can still, there is a program that allows you to create like a basic adventure file from one airport to another airport, and will give you basic ATC. It'll just be one voice. But you at least have that. You can sort of kind of fly around the world with Flight Sim 4. It's a little different because it doesn't map out the globe all at once. So, like if you want to fly in Europe, you would actually have to load up the Western European sublogic disk. But then there are areas outside of what they've populated that you can add custom content and stuff. And so for other areas like Africa or South America, people have kind of created their own version of the continents or something that you would have to load up. It's kind of hard to explain, but so you can sort of kind of have the illusion of flying around the world. But the great thing is that you can download custom content. You can download airports and aircraft. Oh, that's not the right key. Heck, there was even a program that would download real weather and inject it into Flight Sim 4. This right here, Real Weather Pilot, configures actual current weather reports into flying conditions for Microsoft Flight Simulator version 4 or 5. Unfortunately, that no longer works because it uses the DUATS weather service, Direct User Access Terminal Service, only in the US, and I've been looking that up, and like it's not used anymore. It does not use meter files or anything. It uses DUATS. I've been looking to see if there's a way to convert a meter file to that or whatnot, but if I can find some way to get this to actually work, even if I have to kind of like do a roundabout way of getting weather in there, that'll be just so cool. But then they've got other things for Flight Simulator 4 also, which I have, which has programmed missions and stuff, where you've got ATC and stuff talking to you. So there's DISC, Rescue Air 911. Then there is Flight Adventure 701, which actually has ATC controlled flights from Oakland to Concord. That's VFR. And Peter O'Knight, Tampa to St. Petersburg, Florida, IFR. And then there is another flight adventure, number 685. They've only made these two. Why is it 701 and 685? I have no idea. What happened to all the others? Chicago Mix Field to Kankakee, Illinois for VFR. And Stockton to Livermore, California, IFR. And hopefully the floppies work. And if so, I will definitely do some flights and recordings with those, so that way everyone can see how they work. So we're on our way to Pontiac, the Pontiac VOR. 109.6 is what we're tuned into. We're pretty much locked in on the VOR. Once the needle moves away and goes from to to from, then we know we've reached it, because there's no DME or anything that we can use as a reference. There's really no notable scenery or anything out in this area, so it's pretty much IFR flying at the moment. Where did we leave off on the Microsoft Flight Simulator 1 book? I think it was on this page. So, Microsoft Flight Simulator is modeled after the performance characteristics of an aircraft of the Cessna 182 class. Single engine, land with substantial performance. It is an ideal plane for pilot training because it has climb performance and speed that keep a pilot busy, especially on a landing approach. The plane is slightly superior to an advanced World War I fighter. Microsoft Flight Simulator can provide hours of rewarding entertainment. In addition to the easy and realistic simulation modes, it includes the British Ace War Game, which lets you test your dogfighting and bombing skills. Microsoft Flight Simulator will help you learn about flight. I want the World War Ace game in Flight Simulator 2020. Come on. Microsoft Flight Simulator will help you learn about flight. It is not, however, a substitute for a flight training course. If you want more information on learning to fly, we recommend that you read the Flight Training Handbook published by the Federal Aviation Administration. or check with your local airport for information about certified flight training courses. To increase our speed and adjust our trim so we can go faster but still maintain altitude. Close to a heading of 245. It's really hard to do that with airlines. Try to keep it around 3,000 feet. We should be getting the Pontiac pretty soon. Then we'll make a turn to heading 120 on the way to Roberts. Okay, the needle's moving. You see that? From. That means we've just reached Pontiac. So now it's time to change the VOR over to Roberts, which is 116.8. Okay. And then we'll change the VOR here. Center it in, and there we go, heading 118. Remember, we got to keep an eye on the instruments, so the attitude indicator there will let us know our bank. on our way to Roberts now. Not sure how far. So some of you may be asking, how in the world can you play this when there's nothing to see and there's only 5 airports to land at? Well, I figure if it was a big thing then, why not try finding out why? The best way that I can find out by why is just by getting into it. And so there may only be 5 airports, but there's twice as many VORs. So we're just kind of going through here. We're landing at the airports, but we're also flying to each of the VORs as well. You know, and if anything, yeah, there's nothing to see, but you do have your instruments. So it's good IFR use as far as tuning into the instruments and centering your way there. So we will be going to Champaign, Illinois, landing at University of Illinois, which is at the bottom of the default Chicago map. But we'll be going to the Roberts VOR first, and then Danville. And then we'll be heading to University of Illinois right after that. Going almost at 120 knots. Oh, by the way, the transponder doesn't do anything. It's funny. It dates back all the way to Microsoft Flight Simulator 1, but it doesn't do anything. You can change the digits on it, but it's not used for anything. And I remember when flying this on the Commodore 64, I kept wanting that to do something. And heck, I didn't even know what it was for when I first played it. I just knew it was something you could change the digits on, and it didn't do anything. And actually, that transponder really didn't have any use out of the box until Flight Simulator 2002. You had to have a third-party program prior to that would create an ATC-generated flight and make use of the transponder there. So you would have to tune it in to a certain frequency in order for the adventure to go to the next step. So basically, you could use the transponder in Flight Simulators 4, 5, 95, 98, and 2000, but you had to have a third-party program to create an ATC-generated adventure that would be looking for a certain transponder frequency. Until then, flight simulators 1 through 3, transponder had no use. Realize that sound is probably too loud. I'm going to turn that down. That should be a little better. Oh man, that sound is hypnotic. If you're having trouble trying to sleep at night, record about an hour of this sound effect and play it back. It might help. We talked about this on the last flight, but there's a key on here for switch DME source. But when it's the B key, but whenever we press the B key, it doesn't actually do anything. I wonder if there's something inside the manual that talks about it. Might be under the world of navigation. Let's take a look. It doesn't look like it. Constantly going through here and hitting the A key for the altimeter to make sure that it's adjusted. and the D key for the gyro compass, so that way it's matching up with the magnetic compass. Alright, let's take a look here. About this manual. Because Microsoft Flight Simulator is a program that will be enjoyed by novices and seasoned pilots alike, this manual begins with an introduction to flight procedures, operations, and control. If you are new to flying, we recommend that you work through the manual. If you are an experienced pilot, you may want to learn how to operate the instruments and controls, then proceed directly to the section entitled The Editor on page 45. You can use the editor to set environment and flight conditions. You can also use the editor to shift from one of the 4 Microsoft Flight Simulator geographic areas to another. After you are familiar with the editor, proceed to Advanced Flight Techniques on page 71. This manual explains how to use Microsoft Flight Simulator and covers some basic flight technique. Flight instruction is beyond the scope of this manual. If you would like further information on flying, we recommend you read any of the following available FBOs, fixed base operators, or flight training schools at most airports. About the designer, Microsoft Flight Simulator was written by Bruce A. Artwick, President, Sublogic Company, Champaign, Illinois, a hardware and software firm specializing in high-performance graphics systems. Mr. Artwick gained extensive experience in high-performance signal processor, architecture design, and microcomputer-based radar control systems at Hughes Aircraft Company. In addition, he has performed research in mini-computer and microcomputer-based graphics systems design at the Aviation Research Laboratory and Digital Computer Laboratory, University of Illinois, where he received a bachelor's and master's degrees in electrical engineering. Now, are you all ready to find out what the system requirements are to run Microsoft Flight Simulator? You must have an IBM personal computer with at least 64K bytes of memory, a monitor attached to the IBM color/graphics monitor adapter, and at least 1 disk drive. Although Microsoft Flight Simulator will work with any monitor type, a color composite monitor will yield the best results. That's what we're looking at. If you use an RGB monitor, you will get black and white or shaded tones only. The IBM personal computer has limited color generation abilities and 640 horizontal resolution modes, which is used to display the simulator's instrument panel. When you load MS Flight Simulator, the programs will ask what kind of monitor you have and will make the best use of that monitor. The entire Microsoft Flight Simulator program is contained on the disk you received in this package. You will need an additional disk to create a backup of your disk, and a third disk for saving simulation data. Okay, VOR number 1 has changed, or well, it's not just number 1, it's the only VOR. It's gone from to from, so we have reached Roberts VOR. We're now on our way to Danville. That is 111.0. Okay. V for VOR. And there we go. Oh, we're on the same heading. Heading 122 to Danville. And then off to Champaign from there, and that's where we'll be landing. So your question, when did Flight Simulator 4 come out? It was, I think it was 1989. Yeah, sorry, the sound is kind of hypnotic. Flight Simulator 4 was the first flight simulator that had third-party support, as well as user-created content, airports and aircraft. So, Flight Simulator 4 is quite enjoyable, especially when you can mod it. And do things with it way beyond what it was meant to do. And I have an example of what I did with Flight Sim 4, and I played a video that shows what I did. I had a flight that had ATC control. You could hear the pilot, you could hear the tower, they would talk back and forth. There was ATC chatter. It was quite complicated on how I had to program it in there. And keep in mind, it was only that flight. So each flight that I do, if I want to make it that complicated, I have to put it together. It's like putting together like a movie or something. There's all these little bits and pieces that I have to put together and create and then program together. Just for one particular flight. But the results are quite amazing. And I rather like Flight Simulator 4 just because of the ability to mod it. Which you can't do with Flight Simulator 2 or 3. The only thing you can do is add scenery disks from SubLogic, and that was it. This one here doesn't allow you to use scenery disks at all. You are just flying in one of 4 areas. Also, too, with Flight Simulator 4, it had an add-on called the Sound and Graphics Upgrade, or Sound Graphics and Aircraft Upgrade. That was the one where you could change from the PC speaker to actual digitized sound. Ugh. And then there is the Adventure Creator. That's where you could have ATC generated flights. And you can sort of fly around the world. It doesn't model the whole Earth. It's kind of like it models part of it. So if you get the sublogic scenery disc, then it models, like, I think Mexico all the way up into north of Canada. Although there's no scenery in those areas, you can still fly to the area. And so people have gone in and custom created airports and put them in there. So that way you could do something like flying from Dallas to Mexico City. Or flying up into Canada, which is what we are going to be doing on my Flight Simulator 4 World Tour series. I've actually started creating some airports in that area along with navigational aids, so that way we can travel up in there. John, it was a dark and stormy night. Snoopy, where are you? Oh, we're on the way to Champaign, Illinois, the long way around. We're flying to the Danville VOR, and then we're making a turn from there and we'll be landing at University of Illinois-Willard. And it's currently nighttime. There is absolutely no scenery out in this area, with the exception of Champaign and the airport. We're locked into the Danville VOR, which is right on the border of Illinois and Indiana. There is no DME, so we have no idea how far away it is, but we'll know when we get there because the OBS indicator will change from a to a from. That's how we know we reached there. And then we turn and head at a heading of 240 and head out to University of Illinois. Yes, to both. Each one of them is black. Yeah, when it comes to IFR flying, it doesn't get any more IFR than this. This is like gangster flying here. Hold on. With the blast shield down, I can't even see. How am I supposed to fight? Your eyes can't see you. Don't trust them. So when we actually land at the airport, we'll hear off somewhere in the distance. I call it luck. Well, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck. So I gotta ask you, for all of us flight sim fans out there, are we part of a hokey religion? Do we have a hokey religion with ancient weapons? I'm using the Force to get us to Danville, Illinois, Indiana. My targeting computer is off. Is anything wrong? Nope. I'm alright. Yeah. Well, this is more like the composite television. So an RGB monitor would not give you this. It's only a composite television that would give you this the colors. Which actually, I mean, I didn't know that at the time, but when I had grown up with the Commodore 64 version, you know, it didn't have these colored looks and stuff, you know. It was pretty bland looking. And I didn't see the Flight Simulator 1, but I saw the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2. You know, and it also uses the composite television to get color. But the dash here was filled in. I always thought it was interesting. I never understood why there was a curve right here on the edge, because the Commodore 64 is just a flat panel all the way across. And I didn't understand, well, why is the Microsoft version got a curve right there? Well, of course, later I learned that, you know, the Cessnas do have a curve right there. And then later learned that the plane in Flight Simulator 2 for the Commodore 64 is not a Cessna, it's a Piper. And thus, both panels are slightly different from each other. Also, the Commodore 64 plane does not have landing gear, whereas this one does. The needle's moving. Right here, the needle's moving. Do you see it? Boom! We have hit Danville. Well, not hopefully not hit, but you know what I mean. Vici Captain! Welcome to the Killer Gamer channel. Good timing. We're on our way to University of Illinois-Willard now. Let's see. Press the N key here. We're going to change nav, NN, to get the decimals. Oh, we don't have to. It's 110.0. So now we're changing the OBS here. We're going to change that to its centers. And there we go. Our heading is 248. Yep, only one CDI. That was Flight Simulator 1 for you. They changed the see, there's an RPM gauge here. So I guess later on they realized, well, you know what, that RPM gauge there is kind of useless. So they put a second CDI there, added a second nav radio, and then the RPM wound up, you know, they shrunk some of these down and had the RPM digital gauge down in this area. And then they added, you know, more airports and stuff. A320 Sim on Amiga 500. I'll have to take a look and see if I can find that. I have streamed, actually it was it last week? Yeah, last week I streamed Flight Simulator 2 from the Amiga. Tomorrow I'll be doing Flight Simulator 2 for the Commodore 64. We're going to be flying out from scenery disc number 7 to scenery disc number 11. So we're going to be going into the Lake Huron, Detroit area for the Commodore 64. So tomorrow is going to be a big event because we're going to be changing from one Sublogic scenery disc to another scenery disc. And I also have videos over on my YouTube channel. There's a link to that channel on the About page. Tons and tons of flight simulation stuff, to include the Amiga, the C64. I have a couple of videos out on Flight Simulator 1, and I have quite a few stuff on Flight Simulator 4 as well. With add-ons, with the sound and graphics add-on, along with the adventure add-on to be able to have the ATC controlled adventures, custom scenery. Yep, and 5.1. Definitely have that. I have a whole bunch of add-ons for 5.1 as well. Like Europe 1, Europe 2, Las Vegas, Japan, Paris, FSFX, Real ATC, that works back on 5. What else? Grand Canyon, I think that's for 4 and 5. And of course, custom content. Yep, so I've got videos and I've done... Uh-oh. Are we almost out of fuel? Yikes. I didn't think we were going to be going that low on fuel. Hopefully we'll have enough fuel to get to Champaign. Yeah, I've done videos and streams from Flight Simulator 1 all the way up to FSX, P3D. I've got X-Plane 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. and I am getting my old i7 machine up to specs for Flight Sim 2020. Flight Assignment ATP I've not done videos on yet, but I do have it right here. This is a nice pack here that I got, where it's got ATP on CD-ROM along with the USA East and West packs. So haven't done a video on it, but it will be coming soon. Yeah, I do a lot more stuff besides Flight Simulator, so I've been working back and forth, getting footage recorded and getting series edited and stuff for the KILR TV YouTube channel. I was hoping to get SubLogic ATP started this month. But it looks like it may have to wait until next month. I don't want to wait too long for it though, because I've been looking forward to getting started with that one. I've also done Pro Pilot, the first one, 98, and then Pro Pilot 99, as well as Fly and Fly 2. And also there's another simulator by SubLogic called Flightlight, which you can find now as SubLogic Flight, which I'll show you here. I didn't even know this thing existed until I was looking for SubLogic stuff, but this right here, SubLogic Flight. They are very inexpensive on eBay. You can probably get yourself a brand new copy. This is for MS-DOS. It does work on DOSBox with no problem. And if you get the, well, this here is the CD-ROM version. I think it's the only one that comes out in this box collection, but it will give you the whole United States scenery. But it's a very different type of simulator as far as the control panel and stuff. What sim is that? I'm not sure. ATP Flight School, I'm not sure. I'll tell you what though, the transponder that's on that picture looks about as big as the transponder that's on this dash. The 1200 looks like it's spaced out just as long. That's kind of interesting. That's a pretty cool setup though. That's possible, as far as it being X-plane. You should be able to see Champaign here pretty soon. We're not going to be that far from it. There it is! Champaign, Illinois. University of Illinois, I should say. Champaign of Illinois? Champaign-Willard. Let's go ahead and lower the landing gear. We'll start our descent. We're going to have to keep an eye on our instruments because we've got nothing visually that we can determine how high up we are. And that fuel is going down, so I'm hoping that we can get landed before we run out of fuel. I didn't think we would burn all of our fuel off on just that flight that we did, but I guess so. There's a page here on... Oh, that's how to load. I thought it said how to land. Oh, we should be able to pick up the ATIS information from them also. Oh shoot, that's not the right map. Here it is. Should be 124.85. Oh, which we already have tuned in. There it is. Champaign-Willard Airport information. Alpha 500 Zulu, weather. Visibility 10, temperature 72. Wind 0 at 0, altimeter 29.95. Landing departing runway 4. ILS runway 31 approach in use. Localizer back course, runway 13 also available. 109.15. Yeah, I wonder if we'll be able to land it on it or not. 31 approach. We may not have enough fuel to be able to go around to runway 31. I would say that it lurches up or down. It's not as noticeable. I mean, you can't really tell in here because there's no terrain. You know, there's no texture or anything, so you can't really see it. It's not like when flying in like Flight Simulator 5 or 98 where you see the land and do this. But there are different altitudes. There is a runway over here. It's hard to determine how close we are. So the altitude at Champaign is, or Willard, it says on here, 754. So we got to keep in mind 750 basically, and keep an eye on that in regards to the altimeter so we know how far above the ground we are. We're currently at 1,700 feet. So we're about 1,000 feet above ground. There's a runway right there. There's another one this way and another one coming at another angle. Landing gear is down. Just double check that. It's right over here. DN. I'm going to inch one thing of flaps. There's the runway. We can see it. We're just kind of turning here to line up. And there's the fuel box. Can't really afford to do a go around. Let's try not to stall. Got it. Woo! This is one of those times where the fuel boxes feels so rewarding when you get to it. Because it's like, oh, I got an empty tank. Time to get fuel. Alright, where exactly are we here? Let's take a look at the map here. Okay. Just make a left here. There it is. Yeah, the fuel box is red at night. Biff Bullpup, yes, I am controlling with a keyboard. I would not be able to do it otherwise. I remember trying to fly Flight Simulator 2 on the C64 with a joystick. Couldn't do it. I needed the keyboard because I was able to do real fine-tuned controls. Whoops, that is not quite on the fuel box there. Like, we're almost out of fuel here. But watch the fuel tank. This is where it gets really satisfying. Right over here. Watch this. Whoop! It's like, yes! We got a full tank. Now you got to remember, you have to be in reality mode, otherwise it doesn't run out of fuel. Here we are, Champaign, Urbana, University of Illinois. Whew. I was not sure if we were going to make it. I wanted to land with the ILS. That's what I wanted to do. But considering that we didn't have a lot of fuel left and I wasn't quite sure, I didn't want to test it. You know what I mean? I wanted to land. I didn't want to crash. I mean, we did all that flying between all the VORs. The last thing I want to do is crash into the ground. So we just went ahead and picked the first runway that we were coming to. No need to play around. Let's just get down and get down safely, right? Anyways, I hope you agree, and I hope you enjoyed the video and the flight. If so, please click that thumbs up and comment on the video and share, because it helps me out and helps out the channel and the video and the series. And if you're new here, subscribe. Ring that notification bell so that way you get notified of future flight simulation content that is uploaded to the channel. I got all kinds that come up, and other stuff also that comes up throughout the week. And then, if you like live streaming, head on over to Twitch. Love to see you there, so that way you can be part of the show also. Many times when I'm recording episodes, I'll live stream them, giving you a chance to be able to see this stuff weeks and months ahead of time and be able to interact with me and hang out. I love it. Love to see you there. And then Instagram for pictures and photos of projects and stuff that I'm working on behind the scenes. Twitter for KILR official news and announcements, retweets of things that I think you might find interesting. Snapchat for just silly photos and funds, and funds, funds and photos, whenever I can think of things to do with it. And then Patreon for those of you who would like to support me and what it is that I'm doing and the channel. I greatly appreciate anything that you're willing to do. Please head over there and take a look, because I've got bonuses and rewards for being a patron. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you on the next leg of our Chicago tour. Have a killer awesome day.